Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for clicking on the video. It means a lot if you guys keep clicking. If you guys keep clicking, I'll keep making it. Today, we're back in another video. We got the Will Survivor 41 have the best post-merge ever. So I want to talk about the post-merge, how it's set up, how other good post-merges have gone in the modern day Survivor era, and how this season can replicate or even do better than those post-merges. We have a bunch of stuff to get to, so let's get right into it. Tomorrow I will be dropping my True Contenders video, my weekly one. This probably will be the last one unless we have a swap this week. But I'm assuming merge with a caveat until we get something else, because we heard the word merge in the next thing, whereas we didn't hear anything about a swap or a dissolution. So I'm going to assume it's a merge with some sort of caveat. And if that's the case, this will be the last video. But if this is just a swap and then they merge next week or even the week after, we will keep doing videos up until the merge episode drops. That's when we will stop doing these True Contender videos, and we'll probably switch to like a different version of it, like maybe like who is in the best spot to win or something like that. Or maybe we'll keep it going. You guys tell me what you want. Do you guys want to keep the True Contender series going throughout the entire season, or no? Let me know. 70% of you guys who watch these videos are not subscribed. Let's change that. It's easy and it's free. And that's it. Let's get right into the video. All right, so let's talk about the pre-merge first. So the reception of the pre-merge by both super fans and it seemed like casuals is that the pre-merge was somewhat of an up and down roller coaster. So we have episode 1, in which I think a lot of people liked it. There were some haters already, but I feel like most people liked the new ideas, and they felt like it felt different. They felt like the show felt like a new show, and obviously with the big changes, as far as out of order editing more often, obviously, and then we also had some behind the scenes kind of breaking the fourth wall from Jeff and or production, and so it seemed a little bit different, like almost like kind of cool, like a very, very, very different than past seasons, and kind of let us behind the curtain more for sure. And so people liked that it was something new, and also obviously the hype of Survivor coming back from the pandemic, which is so gigantic that it was almost like, how can you not be absolutely hype? 2, I think this was an up and down as far as episode to episode, and 2 shows that, because in episode 2, I feel like we saw a drop off. People started to not like it, but nobody really said anything. It was more of a slow drop off. Like we all knew that 2 was obviously worse than episode 1, but no one was calling for the show like to, oh my god, we need to make serious changes. Oh my god, this is really bad. Obviously, people didn't like the Beware advantage, but that was only because it was the Beware advantage was very good. But it wasn't something that necessarily had ruined like people's like vision on the season yet. People weren't necessarily pessimistic on the season yet, or at least not in the places in which I was around, lurking, looking, whatever you want to call it. Episode 3, that's when everything came crashing down. So we had the specialists completely tearing down the season in their post-game recap. Everyone on Twitter tearing it down, Reddit tearing it down. It seemed like it became very like popular to dislike the season at this point. Everyone was like, too many advantages, not enough screen time for every single tribe, especially the Luvu tribe, and especially Heather and Erica got no screen time, as well as a person like maybe Ricard or a person like Liana, who had gotten zero, like not zero, but virtually zero screen time up until this point, and we felt like we didn't know them. And so all these problems were then addressed in the next episode, in episode 4. We saw a focus on all 3 tribes, and the tribe that got the least focus got crazy amount of focus in episode 2. So we didn't really need to see them, and that tribe being Yase. And so we didn't really need to see a lot of Yase. And so we got two of the 2 tribes that we haven't gotten a lot of up until that point, being Ua and Luvu. Luvu had their whole challenge throw, will they or will they not, like storyline. And then the Ua tribe, obviously chaos with Brad, or no, that's the last episode. But the JD blindside happening, gigantic blindside, and I feel like it really, really, really showed like how good the season had the potential to be if it could stay on that track. And in episode 5, they did exactly that. I think episode 5 was maybe slightly worse than episode 4, but that's not saying much, because episode 4 was fantastic. I think episode 4 you could argue could go down as a top 5 pre-merge episode maybe of all time, and definitely of the like the post Heroes versus Villains era for sure. I think this episode 5 was close to episode 4, which is all we needed. I feel like episode 5 had its own storylines. It really developed some characters, and we really spent a lot of time with that Ua tribe, and more specifically Ricard and Chantel, and we really got to know both of them because we're obviously going to be spending a lot of time with them in the post merge or the swap or whatever's going on, because they're the only two on Ua. So we definitely got more time with them. We also got more time with Luvu. We got the Beware Advantage kind of wrapping itself up in a nice bow. It seems that it was very, very, very good as far as character moments. It was a lot of building characters for the inevitable merge, swap, whatever Jeff wants to call it at this point. Definitely helped us out as the audience. And before I get into the season as a whole, I just want to say this season was cast very well. It was cast well on paper. It seems to be being edited fairly well, at least definitely in the past 2 episodes, very well edited season. And you have a lot of people who are multi-dimensional, not just heroes, not just villains, but people who are like legitimately complex people, which I feel like is better than casting a hero like a JT or something, or casting a villain like like a Bradley or something. I feel like people who are multi-dimensional have more to bring to the table as people who are relatable. So one thing that I want to talk about is the loss of big characters in the pre-merge. I feel like in the pre-merge, we were kind of... So usually what we're used to is they build up like maybe 5 big characters. One of those characters gets blindsided in the pre-merge just to keep us on our toes, and the other 4 go really deep in the game. Maybe one of those 4 that are left goes at the merge maybe, and then like one goes during the finale, and then 2 of those kind of get to the end, and those are the people who are like developed. That's kind of the formula, especially in New School Survivor and in Middle School Survivor especially. That's kind of the formula as far as editing goes. But this season seems to be using a different type of editing strategy, where they're building up several of these people who are going out pre-merge as gigantic either heroes. No, they've pretty much built up everybody who's gone home as at least somewhat of a heroic figure, if not like an anti-hero. So obviously Abraham and Sarah, you don't really have much time, but even then they tried to build up Sarah's grandma and her having COVID. Obviously not much with Abraham. But then with the third boot, we have Voce, where they built him up with his father's story and things like that. And they also just like edited him very like relatably with his confessional in the premiere about how he's an idiot for doing the sweat challenge and being isolated from his tribe. And then after that, we have Brad, obviously getting that gigantic edit in his boot episode where he really becomes a really relatable person, and you feel like they're trying to like set him up to go far in the game, and then he gets blindsided immediately. And then I think the biggest instance of this was JD. Obviously, we see JD. I think this is one of the most heroic pre-merge edits that we've ever seen. Just because I feel like even when he did something stupid, and they even acknowledged that it was stupid, like they would give him the dodo music, and they would show Shan making fun of him in confessional, and yet they would still make us root for him still after all that. So I feel like it was a very heroic edit, and to see him then just immediately go, it's like what? I thought he wasn't able to go because he seems like invincible, but no, he basically for this pre-merge, no matter what your edit was, you were on the everybody was up for grabs. There was no holds barred at all as far as who was going based on the edit. I'm sure the Edgic people had a tough time, reading the edit for this season, pre-merge at least, because it seems very unpredictable. And then after this, we also have Jeannie, who kind of got a hero edit in the episode before the episode that she went in, where she gets like this edit of, oh, like Brad got voted out. Now I have to like play a lot harder, and I'm betrayed by everybody else, and this and that. And then also in her boot episode, she kind of gets a backing behind her, where like she finds the idol, and like we see her try being honest or whatever. And then obviously we see Chantel and Ricard just going back and grabbing the idol that she told them about. So I think they also built her up as hero. I feel like they built everyone up in the Ua tribe as heroes, except for Ricard, and they built Chantel up as just a gigantic character. Whether she's a hero or villain is kind of really not important to me, at least. But I feel like everybody else was built up as either a hero or a villain, and all the heroes have gone, and the one villain is still left, and then Shan's also there just running the entire game. Let's talk about Shipwheel Island. So that's the island in which I think the first time it was JD, Xander, and Voce. The second episode, it was Evie, Deshawn going. And the third episode, it was the night island. I'm going to use the night island. I'm going to assume that that's around the same. I'm going to call it the same island as the Shipwheel Island, even though it probably isn't. But And episode 3, it was, I believe, Sydney, Tiffany, and Brad who went. And then in episode 4, it was nobody because they didn't have it, I believe. And then in episode 5, it was obviously Liana and Chantel. And so far, out of all the advantage in the game, here's the advantage counter for all of the people. I'm going to go look this up so I don't get anything wrong. So first off, Nasir has that now a full idol. I believe it's a full idol now from the Beware advantage. And so does Xander, as well as Chantel, I believe. I also know that Ricard has that extra vote, but he's probably going to give it back to Chantel. And so Chantel should have an extra vote and her Beware advantage that is now unlocked. And also Xander and Nasir also have that same advantage unlocked as well. So now that's 3 idols and 1 extra vote, as well as on top of this, Xander also has what I believe is a steal vote. And yes, no, Xander has an extra vote. And Deshaun actually has an extra. No, sorry, he has an extra vote as well. So there's no steal votes yet. I believe it's all extra votes. So we have Xander with an extra vote, Deshaun with an extra vote, and we have the 3 Beware advantages. And I'm probably missing something. And the fact that this took forever and me looking up several sources shows you how much of a new school Stratford, that we really are in. Because could you imagine in Borneo if we were like, oh, let's count all the advantages. Oh wait, there's none because that's Borneo. Okay, moving on. I just want to talk about very briefly about how certain people should need to go pre-merge and some need to get to them post-merge in order for you to have a good season. So a season like Cagayan is a perfect example of this. So for example, in Cagayan, you have a season where the right people make the merge and the right people go on in the pre-merge. Now, obviously, there's always the exceptions, but good seasons make sure that there's very rare exceptions. So like a season like Cagayan, I mean, aside from maybe Jeffra getting to the post-merge, and even then, I think she also added something. I'm trying to think of someone who I feel like who made the post-merge in Cagayan who just really shouldn't have and didn't bring anything to the table. And the only name I can come up with is Jeffra. I think Sarah, great. I think LJ great. I think Morgan is great there. Obviously, Cass, Tony, and Spencer are great. Tasha's great. Woo's great. Trish is great. Yeah, I think if Jeffra and maybe Cliff swapped, then you have a really, really, really good post-merge. Or obviously it's already a top 2 post-merge of all time. But now you probably have the best post-merge of all time. If maybe a person like Cliff could swap with a person like Jeffra. But aside from that, good seasons have the right people at the post merge. And so I feel like with this season, if we were to merge in this next episode, I'm trying to think of people who I feel like should swap. I think JD should definitely swap with anybody. At this point, I'd take a swap, maybe JD with Erica, and maybe I'd probably like to swap someone like Brad and Heather maybe. And I think aside from that, I'm pretty much fine with everybody else going. I think it would have been fun to see Boche there, but it's not very likely. Okay, so I just want to look at the top 3 post-merges since Worlds Apart, since season 30. So the top 3 post-merges from the 30s, and obviously Winners at War can be included there, although spoiler, it is not one of them. And for me, I think the definitive, it's not even close. The top 3 post-merges have to be season 31, 33, and 37. I think 31, 37 definitely rise above 33, but I feel like it's 33 there. I mean, I guess maybe you could argue maybe season 32 maybe rises above that. I think aside from that, there's really no argument that makes any valid sense over 33, 31, and 37. So what do all these seasons have in common? So I would say, first of all, right at the bat, what I was saying earlier about how the right people went pre-merge, or maybe not like the quote unquote right people, but just the people that we could afford to lose went pre-merge. People like a Monica in Cambodia, or people like a Rachel in Millennials vs. Gen X, or someone like Natalia and Dave vs. Goliath. People who brought something to the table but left, and they weren't going to really have the biggest personality or be the best game player, and therefore I'm fine with losing them. Those are the type of people that you need to lose pre-merge, or else you're going to have a bad post-merge. Ghost Down is a perfect example of all of the people who went pre-merge should have been there in the post-merge, and a bunch of people who were there in the post-merge should have been going out in the pre-merge, and that's why Ghost Down ends up being not that great of a season. It also doesn't have a very good cast, but even if it did, that's the main reason why. Is I feel like the pre-merge and post-merge boots for a good season got swapped on Ghost Sound, and that's why you end up with a very bad boot order in that season. People like Stephanie and Jacob Derwin and James. No. James. I think James gets the post merge, does he? Well, again, as I digress, people who should have been getting to the post merge don't get to the post merge. That's the big issue with these sort of seasons, and that's why these 3 seasons just don't have that. All the people who went pre-merge were losable people. I mean, maybe there's some exceptions, with like people like Natalie Cole going out and Dave vs. Goliath, but at least she gave you a whole lot before she left. She gave you 3 really good episodes back to back. Actually, make that 4 or 5 actually. Another thing that they all have in common is winners that are genuinely people that you like. Whether you didn't like, or whether you weren't the biggest fan of Adam, Nick, or Jeremy, there's no one who hated Adam, Nick, or Jeremy. Maybe Adam, but there's not many people who hated Nick and Jeremy when they were one, where they were like, oh, this is just like Brian Heidick. Oh my God, I just hate this person so much. It wasn't necessarily that person had the biggest edit, or that person played the best game, or that person, was obvious or not obvious of a winner. Like Jeremy was a pretty obvious winner. Very obviously he won 10-0-0, but that doesn't mean that he wasn't a very likable winner. When a person that you like wins in a very obvious fashion, you can still enjoy the season. The issue is, even if it's like a really close, good final tribal, but the person who you don't want to win wins, then it's almost like it doesn't matter. Like a season like Ko Wrong, in which a lot of people wanted already to win, even though like that final tribal was actually a close one. It was actually pretty entertaining to watch because of the fact that Aubrey didn't win. Some people don't like that season as a whole. I think the winner's a big part of it, and so just your winner doesn't have to be big or a really good player or like a very obvious winner. They just have to be a very likable person, or at least semi-likable, and that's something that all 3 of these seasons have in common. Next, I want to talk about things that can single-handedly ruin a post-merge. So, like, individual things that if they happen in the right circumstance can ruin a post-merge all on their own. Everything else can go right, but if this one thing happens, the entire post-merge is ruined. First thing, if there's not a big blindside in the first 3 votes of a post merge, it really sours the post merge. I think a perfect example of this is a season like HHH, in which the back like 3 or 4 episodes of that post merge, like the episodes like on the side of the like the 3 episodes before the finale as well as the finale itself are great. Those first three episodes of the post merge are very, very not great. I think when they get to the spaghetti reward, that's when the season gets like good for HHH. But before that, with the Cole and the Jessica and the Joe Mena boot, those are not fun boots at all. And that's what really makes that post merge not like a top 10. It makes it like a top 25, maybe like a top 20, or maybe even a top 15, because the back half is so good. But those first 3 votes, there's not a big defining vote. A season like Winners at War has the Sophie boot, a big defining boot. A season like Cambodia has the Kelly Wentworth Idol play, big defining boot. A season like Dave vs. Goliath has the John Hennigan is the minority vote split. That's a big, gigantic boot. Even when I was first Gen X, I don't know if this was the 3rd one or the 4th one, but it was at least close with the Rockjaw. That's a big defining boot. Boots like that, or even like the Zeke vote there at final 9 or 8 or something like that. That's a big defining boot. If you just have a post merge full of votes, there's not 1 big vote or 2 big votes, it's hard to get on track with having like an all-time top 10 pre-merge or post-merge of all time. Another thing that I feel like can ruin a post-merge is if you have one person who just like really doesn't deserve to get to the end, and they get to the end, and then it's like just 2 goats. That's very, very bad for a season overall. If someone drags 2 goats, the only time that's ever been entertaining to watch was in Cambodia, and that was only because the 2 goats were people who we genuinely cared about from the previous season that they played on in Spencer and Dasha. And lastly, something that that can ruin a post merge is like a big twist that's unfair, that does the players like very, very little justice. Something like a forced fire making challenge coming out, or something like a final 3. Now, obviously, the final 3 worked pretty well because it made an interesting vote, but it wasn't fair that that they didn't tell Ozzy and Yule at final 4, hey, this is your last vote. Or at least I think they did, but they should have told them at the merge, not at final 4, the vote before. That's like they go to final tribal. I feel like that's just not fair. It's just not fair. Okay, And then I think we have my next bullet on my list would be, how are things set up for season 41? I feel like our seasons, are things set up well for this season or not? So first of all, does the season have a good cast overall? I know I didn't mention that, but I feel like that kind of goes without saying. If you don't have a good cast, you can't have a very good season, because you can't expect people to respect your season if there's no one who they respect on the cast. And so to have a respectable and good cast on your season with some villains, some heroes, but mostly complex people is what's super important. And so I feel like that's something that this season has. Check. Does this season have the capacity? Because obviously we don't know if it's going to have your big season defining blindside. I think it has the capacity to have one. I think someone like maybe a Deshaun blindside from Luvu. I feel like it will be someone from Luvu probably. And if that's the case, I see maybe like a Deshaun or like maybe a Danny blindside that could be like season defining. And I feel like that could be like your Sophie boot or your John Hennigan type boot. And another thing that is set up well is there are a lot of likable people. At least, like, even the people who are like very complex people, they're still likable. And so if they won, you wouldn't be like, ugh. Things that are not set up well. So obviously, what this season doesn't have, as I said earlier, is there are some people left in the post merge who should have gone pre merge. And by should have, I don't mean like, oh, like they robbed the people who went pre merge and JD and Brad and Voce and things like that. I just think people who would have been more entertaining in the post merge, being Voce and Brad and JD, those people went, and people who are still there like Erica and Heather and people who are just not fun to watch, people like even like a Liana is just not that fun to watch. People like that, if they had swapped with those three, being Voce, Brad, and JD, I feel like we have a better post merge setup at least, but who knows. All right, is my winner pick still Danny? Yes, it is. So that's just personally how I feel. I'm going to go with my merge boot prediction is going to go with Erica. I feel like if I had to choose somebody who I feel like I have a feeling is going to be getting the merge boot, I'm thinking Erica, and I'm thinking that the merge boot is like your quiet boot. Similar to in David vs. Goliath, when the Elizabeth boot was like the quiet before the storm, right? So we have everybody flipping on the blue tribe like we all expect to happen. Erica goes home, pretty obvious vote, but it's still kind of a blindside-ish. Then the second vote, we have Deshaun thinking, okay, I have all of these people from these minority tribes, and the Luvu 3 and /4 is kind of in control here, and then he gets blindsided, and that's like the big Sophie boot / John Hennigan / Rock Draw type of boot from this season. That season defining. I feel like I have a feeling that Deshaun is going to be a big part of the season, whether he makes it to the end or is a big blindside from the season. One or the other, who knows. Purple edit pick. So the person I feel like if someone was going to get purpled, I feel like it may be Nasir. We've gotten such conflicting information about Nasir, and I feel like someone, like, if I'm going to pick Erica as my merge boot, then I have to pick someone else for my purple edit boot, obviously. Erica would be an easy shoe-in for this one, but because of that, and because of the fact that I feel like Heather or Tiffany could get to the end and take up that third spot, I would say Nasir, and then whichever one out of the old women, being Tiffany and Heather, whichever one doesn't get to the final three and gets like that third place spot, whichever one isn't that person, they could also be a candidate for being purple, because there's not much need for them. And I feel like Nasir could be like your person who goes to like 6th or maybe 8th, who just kind of lost in the sauce there. Heartbreaker award, meaning like the person who could go, not necessarily like the Rob Goddess, but like your person that could go in like your Christian spot, like around like 7-ish or 6-ish, like your like Christian / Elaine type of person. And that person for me is Chantel easily. I think Chantel is definitely like your heartbreaker boot, and I don't see them building up a fallen angel that much in Chantel, and so obviously if she's not going to win, then she's going to be your fallen angel. Although I do think that she does have a pretty good shot to be in the final three, and that's why for my final three, I am breaking my own rules a little bit by having Chantel there. Even though I said she was going to be like the Christian type of boot, I just personally, like, my gut feeling tells me that it's going to be like Chantel, And then I do think that Heather is going to take that third spot and get 0 votes. So we have Heather with 0 votes, Chantel with eight votes winning, and I kind of put somebody here in this second place spot, and so I'm going to go with Xander, who's getting a hero edit, kind of like a Woo edit almost, and Woo obviously gets to the end and gets like 1 or 2 votes. So I'm going to go with an 8-2 vote, with Xander getting 2 votes, Chantel getting 8, and Heather getting 0, with Chantel winning. But what do you guys think? Do you guys think that the post merge will be super good, super bad, somewhere in between? If this post merge is just you think it's gonna suck, tell me in the comments. If you guys think it's gonna be better than freaking David vs Goliath post merge, tell me in the comments. What is your favorite post merge ever? Tell me in the comments. Tell me it all in the comments. Thank you guys for the continued support. You know, continue to like, subscribe, comment, share this video to all your friends. Just kidding. Nobody watches this show. You know that. It's okay. Subscribe, turn notifications on, and press the little all button there so you get it every time I post a video. Thank you guys for the continued support. Thank you, Skylar, for making my thumbnails. They're looking fantastic as always. And I will see you guys tomorrow in the True Contenders video. And after that, we have our post-game show, and then we got more videos. Daily content continues. Thank you guys for the continued support. And if you guys keep looking, I'll keep making. See you guys. Peace.